that's what makes it difficult.
Hi, my name is Brooke Taylor. I am the Nampa School Board Chair. To my right is Trustee Kirkman, and to his right is Trustee Sue. To my left is Trustee Simpson, and then to her left is Trustee Valle. I am going to call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present, so we're going to get started. Tonight, we're going to start with a presentation, and then following that presentation, we get to hear from you guys, which we actually love to do. I'm going to set just a couple of ground rules so that tonight goes smooth and that we can hear everything you have to say because it's really important. So tonight, when somebody comes up to the podium and they speak, if you agree with them, I just want you to raise your hand. We will see it. It is impactful. We will understand that you agree. If you kind of agree, go like this. No, that's a joke. Don't do that. If you agree, raise your hand. And if not, keep it down. But we'll be able to see that you're in agreement with what they're saying, and then you can come up and speak, and we want people to show you the same courtesy. We have people in the audience that are hard of hearing. We have a trustee also that has some hearing issues. So that's why this is so important, so that we hear every word. And again, I'm really glad to have you guys with us tonight, and we have committed this time to hear from you, so thank you for coming. With that, I'll go ahead and entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve tonight's agenda.
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll go ahead and get started. I will, right before we take them, yeah. We are going to go ahead and move to 3, the town hall meeting, schools closures, state of the school mitigation options. Dr. Russell?
It doesn't sound like it.
Doesn't sound like it.
Testing. All
Yep,
right.
now you are.
Chair Taylor, trustees, tonight we're going to open up with a presentation. It's about 15 minutes or so. It is a recorded presentation. This is something that we shared with our community a little bit earlier, but it does summarize many of the it does summarize the situation which the district is dealing with, and it kind of gives some context to why we're here today.
Little, yeah, there you go.
Okay, hopefully that's better. Sorry, everybody. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and ask those folks to just get that started, and then we will go into comment after that.
Good day, Nampa School District patrons. My name is Waylon Yarbrough. I'm the Deputy Superintendent, and today with me I have Superintendent Dr. Greg Russell and Director of Operations, Mr. Courtney Stauffer. Want to share some information with you today about some recent recommendations we've given to the board around some of our facilities and some of the things that may be facing the Nampa School District. Before we dive into that conversation, though, I just really want to express our gratitude to the community for their support in the supplemental levy. Want you to know that that's a vital piece of district operations, and we really appreciate the community support on that. One other piece of information as we go through this conversation, we are going to have a listening session on December 6th at Nampa High School in the Little Theater at 6:30 p.m. The board would love to get your comment and ideas about where we're at with this conversation. And the day before that, we're going to be sending a survey out to you that you guys can give us some feedback and give us your impressions about these recommendations so we can make the best decision moving forward for the Nampa School District. Thank you for your time today. We're going to get going with this conversation, and I'm going to lead off Dr. Russell. With all those things being said, what is our specific recommendation to the school board?
Yeah, so we are making a recommendation to close some schools that we have currently right now and repurpose some other buildings. So you'll see on your screen there are quite a few schools that are affected by this. What we're looking at doing is closing West Middle School, and then we would repurpose that building for Union High School. And we would also use that building for our Nampa Academy, which is an alternative school that we started this year as well. That would allow those buildings to have more growth and a newer facility. We'd look at closing Snake River Elementary School and allow Gateways, our program there, to be able to move into that building. Again, that would provide a better facility and a little more area for growth. The second one, we would close Central Elementary, and we would use that building for our preschool program, our NECLIC, and for NOVA, our online program. And then there are several buildings that we would decommission. We would take those offline and possibly raise those. And those buildings you'll see here in your screen are Union High School, which is the old Sunny Ridge there in the south part of town. Gateways, which is the old Lincoln building there off of Canyon Street. And then Greenhurst or Centennial. So reason why Greenhurst or Centennial are on there is one has to do with the building, Greenhurst, which is a building that is aging, has some building needs on it that we've been trying to address, but it's not in the greatest condition. Or Centennial, which has some safety issues there. And so we've presented that to our board as we would recommend taking one of those offline because of either the condition of the building or the safety issues it presents.
So thank you for that, Dr. Russell. Courtney, can you lead us into why these specific buildings? Greg kind of mentioned those, but why these specific buildings when we look at our entire portfolio?
Absolutely. You know, it's actually a long-term answer that we've been working on for many years. It actually was a result of some reports that we were working on since 2018. But the genesis of that report really delves into three main factors. That is the condition of the building, the academic condition of the building, and then ultimately the utilization, or how many students that we can fit in the building. And so the buildings that you see on your screen right now, you see Greenhurst, Snake River, Centennial, Central, and West, were the buildings that have the smallest capacity and the smallest footprint. Now at that point in time, that they were built, they were sufficient for their needs, but we have seen some evolution of the needs of students' needs and teacher needs. And so those buildings are the ones that have the smallest capacity. The other factor that leads into this is Central, Snake River, Greenhurst, Centennial, Park Ridge, and West have also seen our largest decrease in enrollment. And so those populations have changed and they are no longer needing the same amount of capacity that they have seen in the past.
Greg, Courtney just did a great job of describing our facilities committee report and some other things. What other factors have led to this moment in time where we really need to consider realigning and repurposing some of our buildings?
Yeah, so Courtney mentioned, I think one of the big ones, which is we've seen a drastic drop in student enrollment. The last 10 years, actually, going back to the 13-14 school year, we had about 14,000, almost 15,000 students in our school district. And since then, we've seen a steady decline. I think what you'll see here on your screen is a look at our student population. You'll see the decline down to, it says 13,227 right there. That includes some of our preschool students. So actually, when you take out our preschool students, we're actually below 13,000. So that's 1,900 students the last 10 years, and that's a large decline for us. I think the next one here, just to share a little bit with the enrollment, you'll see our class sizes have shrunk quite a bit. And when I mean class, by how many students are coming in a kindergarten, our overall kindergarten, our first grade, second grade, all the way through. And you'll see from kindergarten through 10th and 11th grade there, those classes have dropped drastically the last 10 years. So in the top of that screen, you'll see most of those are around the 1,200, 1,100. And then you'll see in the middle of your screen, those classes start to drop to about 1,000 and some little bit of 900s in there. But you look at the last 2-3 years or so, now our kindergarten, first grade, and second grades, et cetera, are barely 1,000, and many in the 900s. And it's that number we're looking at right there, the kindergarten with 841, which really alarmed us this year. That's our first 800 we've seen. So we've gone from classes of 1,200 kids in a grade level down to 800 and 900. So it's been a drastic drop.
Gotcha. Along with that, what factors are leading to that? We've got some home price challenges. We've got some different demographics moving in. Courtney, maybe you can speak to that of the other factors there.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question because all around us we see building going on, right? So the city of Nampa seems to be growing, and it is. As far as, housing permits, we know that those have been up. But the real interesting component is who is moving in and where they're moving in. On the screen, you can see a distribution of where the population is moving in. You see that we have the downtown Nampa, which belongs to the Nampa School District. You have the east side of Nampa, the north side of Nampa, and the southeast and west. So all of those areas, if you look at the biggest growth, you see that the Nampa West and the Nampa Southeast, both of those have a large portion of their area that actually pertain to the Valley View School District. Mm-hmm. They have part of our city that's growing quite rapidly. So we see the infrastructure of our district is some of the older developments that we saw most of the boom in the early 2000s.
So, Courtney, if I'm understanding that correctly, even though, like, when I drive around town, business is still happening, like, buildings are being built, homes are being built, but that actually isn't impacting or isn't growing within the Nampa School District for school-age kids with these factors that we're seeing. It actually is impacting Valley View, which is one of our sister districts that's growing, but the Nampa School District, it isn't. Do I understand that correctly?
That is correct, yes.
All right. One other factor, what about our birth rate, Dr. Russell? I know that when we looked at these historical projections, there's some issues there. Can you explain that a little bit for us?
Yeah, I think birth rate's an important one. We also are seeing the amount of age, I think.
It is. Our demographics of who's moving in and the population age of Nampa has changed. We were actually looking at statistics from the city of Nampa and looking at the age of people in Nampa, and you can start to see that the age group of that 50 to 75 has grown incredibly. We looked at some state statistics as well. You look at the growth in Idaho, 75% of the people moving into Idaho right now are 50 or older.
So we're seeing growth outside of our district boundaries. We're seeing the folks that are actually moving into our community tend to be folks that maybe are empty nesters or don't have large families or kids age. And then the last one is we mentioned birth rate. So I think as you look on your screen right here, you'll see our birth rate in Nampa, looking about 20 years ago or so, we had about 1,700 live births. Fast forward that now 20 plus years later, and you'll see we're at 1,900. So a slight increase, but not a large increase. When you consider in the early 2000s, the city of Nampa was around 60,000. Now we're well over 100,000. So that kind of leads to a little bit what Courtney was talking about, is we're seeing older folks move into our community. And I think where there are younger families, it's mostly probably in the north of us in the Valley View School District.
And one other factor to maybe consider in that too is the cost of homes have increased drastically
absolutely.
for our younger families. Again, according to the City of Nampa's website right now, the median home is $430,000 in comparison to about $170 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's a major shift for young families starting out. I remember my wife and I have been community members, and our first house was in that range. And so definite big shift. Greg, we talked about that enrollment piece again. Can you help us understand what a drop in enrollment means for the district on a financial side, and maybe some of the other factors given coming out of the pandemic that impacted that enrollment funding?
Yeah, so one of the things that schools are funded on is how many students attend school on a daily average, called ADA. And what we see is if we have less students, then we generate less revenue for schools, and that's less money to pay for teachers and some of the supports we need in our schools. During the pandemic, a couple of things happened as well. One of them is we saw less attendance during the pandemic, and that was across the state. And so what the state did is they made a change in the funding, and it was based on enrollment, not average daily attendance. And last spring, they made a switch and made us go back to average daily attendance. And that was about a $5.5 million loss. I think you'll see that here on your screen. One of the other things that occurred besides the enrollment ADA switch was ESSER dollars. So the federal government had given out stimulus packages to states and school districts, and the district was able to use that money. There were certain requirements that we had to follow, but we were able to use that money to help provide for our schools. That money is now ending. So when you take the enrollment loss, which is less revenue for us, and then you take the ADA enrollment switch that the state did for us, that's less revenue for the district. And then the COVID money going away, again, less revenue. So we're facing less revenue this upcoming school year, and we need to make some mitigation strategies to ensure that we can meet our obligations financially.
Gotcha. To that end, what if the board goes ahead with this recommendation and they do say, hey, we're going to close some schools, realign some schools, and then we do see an increase in enrollment, we would happen to have that in the district, how would we handle that? Is that something in our plan that we can deal with? What can we speak to there?
Yeah, I'll start and Courtney can take over a little bit. What we're seeing currently right now is because of such a low enrollment in our elementary schools, only 67% of them are at capacity. And we have some in the 40s and 50% even. And so if we were to go from 14 elementary schools down to 11, we would refill those schools up to an occupancy level that we would find which would be more efficient and suitable for our needs. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, as far as when we look at the distribution of students in our classrooms and our classroom sizes, those are a big concern to us. We have targeted class sizes that we like to keep for our teachers. And when you have a small school and a large school, there's a variance that takes place within inside of the classrooms. For example, in a small school, if you have 37 kids in second grade, you're kind of caught in that weird area. Is it 2 teachers or is it 1 teacher? For 1 teacher, that's a really big class size. We would really like to see that around the mid-20s is where we'd like to see that. But again, 37 is a big classroom. But if you put 2 teachers into that, now you're dropping down into that 16, 17, 18, which is under what we would like to see our class sizes. So we start to utilize more resources in that environment or that scenario, where in a larger school, we have the ability to navigate that discrepancy a little bit easier. So that's really one of the inefficiencies that comes into play that we would require. We'd like to have the 17 for sure, but again, talking about the mitigation factors that we have, that isn't necessarily our luxury.
And currently we're seeing numerous classes. We have some very large ones, some very small ones. And what we've been able to do is, talking around those dollars that we had previously, we were able to fund some of those positions. With that money leaving, we no longer have that luxury anymore. So we're going to have larger classes because we just won't have the revenue to provide the teachers.
I'm reminded of the old Goldilocks, right? It can't be too big, it can't be too small, it's got to be just right. And we're trying to find that sweet spot of what's efficient, what provides for the best educational opportunity, and given limited resources, I really appreciate that, Greg.
I think one of the things that we've heard is, well, what are our classes, how big will the schools be, how big will class sizes be? We believe our class sizes will fit within the 22 to 25 range, 26 where we want to be. Right. And our elementary schools will go up to around 550. They were built for 675. So we will have room for growth. So if we do start growing, we'll have plenty of room if we can make sure that we get our students to the right size.
Courtney, again, one of those other factors is our facilities maintenance kind of master plan. Can you speak to that a little bit about how FCI and some of those things play into this?
For sure. So just a little bit of background context. In July of 2022, we did put together and presented to the board a facility maintenance plan a master plan for the district. Taking a look at the condition of each of our buildings and really looking at factors that helped us get a better understanding of the health of our buildings from an operational standpoint. One of the things that we were able to determine in there or come out with was what's called FCI. It's the Facility Condition Index, and it is an industry standard on how buildings are measured for their health and how much they cost in keeping them in repair. So through that process, we were able to identify the buildings that were at the higher end of that need spectrum. Now, another component of that is what's called deferred maintenance. And those are the things that need to be taken care of in order to keep your building in a good condition and also help keep your FCI a little bit lower. So currently, we have that packet that's available online. You can take a look at it. But part of our buildings were ranked as far as those needs are concerned. And the buildings that we've been talking about were those that had some high indicators of having a high FCI and having high deferred maintenance. And again, just maybe a little bit repetitive, the deferred maintenance are the actual costs of fixing those things inside the building to help their longevity.
So if I'm hearing you right, this idea of deferred maintenance isn't going away. It's like no matter what we do, we're going to have those things. And that's typical for any school district. And that's just a matter of how we have to navigate.
I think to put it simple is some of these recommendations would allow us to decommission some of our most needy buildings and allow us to be able to put our money in where our buildings need to be. And I think it overall will help the health of our portfolio.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. One other thing that it feels like is for some folks, this feels like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? It feels like it's happening really fast. I do think that there's some information we could share that this is actually maybe a longer conversation. It's been going on a little longer. We alluded to it at the first, but what can you tell us about that, about how this is coming to fruition, and then maybe how the pandemic caused that pause of we would have been here 3 or 4 years ago, but it just put things on pause for us.
Yeah, it is. We've actually looked at this for quite some time. We started back even in 2017 when we noticed a large decline in our student population. We began to do a enrollment projection to see what our future would be. I think that was finalized in 2018, and we shared that out with the public then. And what we saw was a decline and a projection of a decline. And that has been pretty spot on. We've seen every year that we have gone down And as we mentioned earlier, it's greatly impacted us. So maybe talk a little bit, how did COVID play into that and delay us?
You know, I think with the world, COVID kind of put things on pause because we had greater things that we needed to take care of in that moment. We were headed in this direction, and so there was lots of conversations. That facility maintenance team had been ongoing, working on projections. We brought in a third-party company to help us develop the right planning and look at all the nuances of a declining student population and what impact that had on buildings. So with that time frame of COVID kind of bringing a little bit of a pause because we had greater things to think about, we then shifted as we started coming out of that. And ultimately in July of 2022, we came and presented to the board the findings that we had been collaborating on for over 4 years, gathering information, which really talked about the needs that we're currently seeing.
And in that time, we've seen smaller and smaller enrollment, smaller students coming in to the point where, as we mentioned, 841 in our kindergarten, and we're going to start seeing cohorts of kids in the 800s to 900s. Yeah. So we anticipate still dropping a few more years.
Craig and Courtney, looping back to the levy conversation, one of the perspectives of, hey, we passed the levy, how does that play into this conversation? How do we balance what the levy has been used for, will continue to be used for in our district, and does that take us away from having to do these mitigation strategies?
The levy is critical to our operations. It has curriculum on there, it has teaching staff on there, and it allows us to be able to also do some really nice things for our students in the extracurricular areas, security, and a couple of others in our technology. So it is something that is really critical for us to be able to operate day to day, and what it is it provides for our daily functioning, and if we didn't have it, we would have to even probably take even more drastic measures. Maybe we'd be looking at even more schools if we had to. So it did provide teaching positions for us, but it doesn't make up for the loss of revenue that we're seeing in year after year of smaller cohorts of kids coming in.
I do think it was wonderful that we passed it. Again, thank you to the community for helping us pass that, because there is a huge support that it has for current programs. Correct.
Yeah.
If you really look at what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, the field trips, the athletic competition fields that it's helping improve, our music programs benefit from it, transportation is a component of it. You mentioned our safety and security is a piece of that helps us to provide better and safer environments for our students and having our families feel comfortable sending the kids to us. So it has lots of features to it. It's not just one standalone thing. It does promote and continue what we have been doing and what has been our business operational, and it does provide what you talked about, some additional supporting staff.
Gotcha. Well, gentlemen, I really appreciate this conversation today. Let's, for the patrons at home, let's re-loop with what is our actual recommendation one more time so they're clear on that.
Yeah, so the recommendation, you'll see it here on your screen again. To the left, you'll see the schools that are impacted. So Union High, West, Middle School, Gateway, Snake River, Central, Greenhurst, or Centennial will all be directly impacted if a decision is made. What we're recommending is to your right there is that West Middle School would close, and then we would have Union High and Nampa Academy would move in. Snake River would close, and Gateways would move into that building, and then Central Elementary School would close, and then our NECLEC and NOVA program would move into those. Each of those moves would allow our programs to have better facilities than they currently are right now. And then we would look at taking some of our buildings that are older, that aren't functioning as well, and decommissioning those and taking those down. So Union High School, the old Sunny Ridge and south part of town there. Gateways, our old Lincoln Elementary School there off of Canyon Street, we would look at decommissioning that building. And then, as we talked, Greenhurst or Centennial, one based on the building needs and one based on just security, if we'd make a recommendation for one of those.
Well, thank you again, gentlemen, and I would like to thank the patrons again for listening to this informational video. Hopefully this has answered some of your questions. I would highly encourage you, if you have more, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Also, remember, you're going to be getting a survey where you can give us some feedback and input on these decisions. And as well, there's going to be a public listening session for our board at Nampa High School in the Little Theater on December 6th at 6:30 p.m. So please don't hesitate if you have questions or would like to show up and have your voice heard there. Want to, again, in closing this, understand and help the community know we do know that change is hard, and these recommendations are not taken lightly. We do understand that this does impact people in very significant ways. However, we also know that because we are Nampa and we are Nampa proud, that we can build great educational opportunities and experiences for our kids, and realigning the location those happen doesn't change the fact of what our community is about. So thank you again, and #WeAreNampa.
move us into the public comment section of our meeting tonight. If you want to speak, you need to make sure you've signed up. Our clerk is walking out to get the sheets. Is there anybody who wants to speak right now who did not sign up? Okay? So as she comes in, I want you to get your name on her sheet, all right? And then we'll get you. All right, so we've got her getting her name on there, and then how this works is when you come up to speak, you're going to recite your name and your zone or your address for the public record, so one or the other. Then we'll give you 3 minutes on the clock, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. After those 3 minutes, the mic will be cut, so we want you to consolidate those words that you have for us into that 3-minute time frame. Now, if you should decide that you don't want to speak when your name is called, you don't have to. So you can simply just say pass. All right? Perfect. And then to reiterate, if somebody says something you agree with, just raise your hand really high so we can see it.
Madam Chair, I have a question.
Yeah.
If I have a specific question for one of the people that are sharing something, is that allowed for me to ask them? And will that count against our time?
It doesn't count against their time, but let's go ahead and wait until the very end of that 3 minutes, and
Okay.
then you can ask your question so that we don't have to stop that clock. So write it down. Does that work?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I am looking for Hollis Babb. Perfect. Yeah, so if you have written your comment and you want to leave it with us, we can also get it scanned in and emailed to the board as well. All right, so you'll state your name and either your zone or your address, and then once you see your 3 minutes, you can go ahead and start.
I'm Hollis Babb, and I live off of Pennsylvania Avenue in Nampa.
Give me 1 second before we start her. Can we turn her up? I can't hear her at all. We're going to test you out.
Okay.
This doesn't count to you.
It doesn't count at all. Nope. Okay, let me have you say test.
Test.
That's pretty light.
Well, these speakers are turned.
Do you want me to speak louder?
Try to speak louder.
Is
Or
this
closer
better?
to the mic.
Closer to the mic.
That's way better.
That's better?
That's way better.
Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm Hollis Babb. I live on 2821 East Pennsylvania Avenue, Nampa, Idaho. Located in the heart of Nampa lies Central Elementary, a trauma-informed school. Today I'll be discussing the power of trauma-informed schools and how they have a profound impact on our students who are the future of Nampa. I'm Hollis Babb, a teacher at Central, former substitute in the Nampa School District, former student of Nampa Schools, and a concerned citizen of Nampa. In our community where resources may be limited, the benefits of trauma-informed schools are even more pronounced. A case study conducted by the American Institutes for Research revealed that implementing trauma-informed practices in high-poverty schools improves student behavior and mental health. Central is a trauma-informed school. We have the leadership that knows how to operate with this demographic and the staff that have the hearts to work with these students. Now consider the alternative, a larger school setting. Placing students with substantial trauma in bigger schools can exacerbate their challenges. A study from the National Institute of Mental Health highlights the heightened risk of academic difficulties, social isolation, and mental health issues among students grappling with trauma in larger institutions. The impersonal nature of larger schools often hinders the establishment of the essential relationships students need for emotional support and guidance. A distinguished school counselor, Stacy Freiberghaus, states that it takes years building relationships with students and emphasizes the importance of these relationships within the demographic. Furthermore, trauma-informed schools foster a sense of community and belonging, which is crucial for these students dealing with trauma as it mitigates feelings of isolation. A study by the Center for Health in Schools found that students who feel connected to their school community are more likely to engage in positive behaviors and less likely to engage in risky behaviors. Risks are going to be more inclined if Central is taken away from this community. Risks of more crime, less stability for families, less parent involvement in the schools, and leaving North Nampa schoolless. Consider the wealth of resources the school offers to our families. A study published in the Journal of Educational Psychology emphasizes the positive impact of family engagement on student success. Our school's commitment to providing resources, counseling, and support for families directly contributes to a collaborative and nurturing environment. By closing Central, we risk severing a lifeline for our community, hindering the very support system that plays a crucial role in our child's well-being. I'm okay with losing a job, but I'm not okay with these students losing their safe place. This is their home. And they don't have a lot of things that are theirs. So with that being said, the evidence is clear. Trauma-informed schools, just like Central, are not just an educational strategy. They are a lifeline for our students, and they foster resilience and hope in the face of adversity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Check your register. Thank you, Chair Taylor. Hey, is there any way we can adjust the volume on this? Because I'm having a difficult time hearing the speaker. So if we need to turn a speaker or add a speaker or move the mic closer, I don't know if there's anything.
Pick up the
And hold
mic.
it closer to the mouth?
Okay.
Okay, that's.
Thanks, Taylor. Did you get that one written? Okay, scan it in. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm now going to call up Carly Freeberg Hawes. Before you start, let's have you test.
Test.
I'm gonna have you pick that up. Let's see if that changes it for us.
Test. Is that better?
It's still light.
Is that better? Test.
That's a little better.
Okay.
When I think of the
That's
speakers
actually
are-
a lot
The
better.
directional of the speakers is
He's
out
gonna
that
turn
way.
it this
There you
way.
go.
Try it for us one more time.
All right. Test, test.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. I think that's actually fixes our issue, and then the audience has that. Yeah. Thank you. You can go ahead and start.
Good evening. My name is Carly Freiberg-House, and I teach PE at Central Elementary School. Our school held an informational night on Monday for parents to learn about the potential repurposing on Central. They also filled out a survey about the changes that we sent home a few weeks ago. These are voices from the parents, and I'm going to read some of the quotes. These students and teachers have strong connections. I have seen that for myself. If you take these kids from the relationships, they will have an incredibly hard time coping. Do you think that is good for our kids? At Central, there is an open communication with teachers. Maintaining the trust there is with students and teachers and parents is going to be so hard if they change schools. Our kids are going to be overly stressed out and changing schools, and I'm not okay with that. If you put SPED kids with IEPs in big schools, they will be forgotten. They will be lost in the crowd, and they will be overloaded. Our paras and SPED teachers will be overloaded. Central has always helped families, always. That's why I've chosen for my kids to come here. There are other ways we could go about this rather than shut down Central. Why close this school when we need it in our neighborhood? We live really close to here. All my kids have gone here. All 15 of my grandkids have gone here. The teachers here, it's family, honestly. They talk to you, they make time for you. They think do you think we're gonna get any other teachers like that? I don't think so. I see how my son is here. The teachers give me time for him. He loves his school and his teachers so much. To get that relationship and trust is so hard for our kids. Lastly, some of our students were asked why they care about Central and their answers. I know we are secure and safe at Central. My favorite thing about Central is all the teachers because they help us learn and calm down. I like that the school is really old, and when we are here, they are here for you. They care about us. I love my school because my mom went here and practically all of my family. This school is pretty great and amazing. A student who is a newcomer to this country and speaks practically no English wrote in Spanish. What I like about this school is the teachers and how they are. They treat the students and they love us. I like that we get to be who we are. I don't ever want to leave. Our teachers let you learn from your mistakes, and you learn a lot from it. They care about us kids. Lunch is free for all of us. What I like about my school is my teacher and my friends and my family. Central is a place where I can feel comfortable. I feel seen here. I feel safe here than my other school. Even though I joined the school not that long ago, I love it here. As soon as you walk in, you are welcomed, and everyone cares about you. Central is our home. This school has done a lot for me. These teachers make this school. The teachers are the best. What I like about my school is every single memory. I wish I could stay in this school forever.
Thank you, Carly. I am now going to ask Becky Springer to come forward.
Do you want me to test too? Okay, I'm kind of loud. Hello, I'm Becky Springer. First and foremost, a parent of children in the Nampa School District, a teacher at Central Elementary, and a taxpayer of the city of Nampa. Today, I stand before you with a heavy heart and a deep concern for our collective future. The proposal to close down Central Elementary is one that strikes at the very heart of our community, threatens to leave us vulnerable in ways we cannot ignore. Central Elementary isn't just a school, it's a cornerstone of our neighborhood. It's where friendships blossom, where young minds ignite, with curiosity, with the future of our community takes root. Closing its doors would mean cutting the vital ties that bind us together. Think about the impact on our children, their routines disrupted, their educational journeys abruptly directed. It's not merely a change in schools, it's a disruption of stability, something fundamental for our growth and our development. Moreover, Central Elementary isn't just about education. It's about the hub of our community, or hub of our support, a safe haven for many families. Closing it down would not only affect our children's education, but also our livelihoods as families, relying on the school as a foundation for their everyday lives. Beyond the immediate impact on the families of the children, consider the ripple effect on our community's fabric. Central Elementary isn't more than a building, it's a symbol of unity, a meeting place for families, teachers, and neighbors. Its absence would create a void, leaving us more isolated and fragmented. Closing Central Elementary would not only disrupt our children's education, but also leaving our community vulnerable, stripping away a vital piece of our identity and support system. I urge you all to consider not just the logistics, but also the human cost of this decision. Let's come together as a community, voice our concerns, and explore alternatives. Let's strive to protect Central Elementary, not just as a building, but as a beacon of hope, education, and unity for generations to come. Thank you.
I'm now going to ask Aubrey Crisp to come forward.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, I can just start. I don't need to say my zone.
You'll say your name and your zone for the public record, and then you can start.
Okay. My name's Aubrey Crisp, and I know Brooke Taylor, you're in my zone. That's all that I know. Sorry. Okay. Good evening. My name is Aubrey Crisp, and I teach fourth grade at Central Elementary. For the past 6 years, I have taught 165 of the most amazing kids our community has ever seen. It is for every single one of these kids that I'm speaking tonight. As my colleagues have expressed, closing Central Elementary would cause detrimental harm to not only our students and families, but to the community as well. For the past 94 years, Central has stood as a pillar of our community. Central is in the heart of Nampa. We're able to serve so many people in our location. When our kids come to Central, it's a one-stop shop. We have a resiliency advocate with us 4 days a week. We have an FCRC open 5 days a week. We have a St. Luke's bus, a pediatrician 1 day a week, and a YMCA after-school program, all of which I will be emailing you the details of to show the utilization and need of these programs in this community. We have Salvation Army right down the street. We have a 30-year plus partnership with First Church across the street, who provide support and encouragement to our staff, tutoring for our students, and the beloved Christmas shoe boxes, which make sure all our kids at least get something for Christmas. Our school provides for our students We see the child as a whole and want to meet all of their needs. We make sure they know school is a safe place for not only learning, but also love, safety, support, and comfort. All of this brings me to our proposal. Keep Central open as a one small designated trauma-informed school. We have empty classrooms where we can fit more kids. We can absorb those kids, more kids, and they will be directly benefited from all our programs already up and running. We would take in additional kids with open arms. We have a long history of welcoming new kids to our buildings who are anxious and unsure. We are professionals at this. Unlike what the district may feel, we are not just warm bodies. We are trained professionals who know how to deal with the unique challenges of this demographic and are passionate about doing this. Our kids are not just a couple $1,000s of state funding you can put wherever works best for you. Central is full of passionate teachers who show up every day to love, care, teach, and worry about kids who are not our own. And all we want is to keep doing that. I love Central, but this school belongs to our kids. Central is our kids' safe place. It is their constant. They face a lot of uncertainty in life, but Central has always been there. This is home to them. Please don't take that away from our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Aubrey. I am now going to call Aaron Callis forward, please.
Hi, can you hear me all right? Great.
Yes.
Perfect. Going to shift gears a little bit. Going to talk about West. Thanks for this opportunity to have the forum. It really is a good opportunity. But simply put, the current proposal to shutter West Middle School is just wrong-headed. A significant barrier in any school is sustaining a culture of trust and mutual respect where the staff, faculty, and administration all have student-centered, focused, and are responsive to the needs of their students. This is very difficult to achieve, super difficult, but West has it in reality. Walk in the front doors, you feel it. There's something different in that building. Why would you want to throw all of that away on a plan that will disenfranchise families, displace staff, and shift the responsibility to care for the educational needs of some of our most vulnerable students to schools that will not have the capacity to best serve them? This proposal is a mess. I urge the board to appreciate the unintended consequences, so let's talk about those. The majority of the student body at West are, by very definition, at risk and marginalized. At West, they are not invisible. They are seen by a faculty who care enough to peel back the sometimes rough layers and find ways to meet their diverse needs. West is intentional in their strategies that develop productive relationships with students and their families. I have no doubt that shuffling students to other schools will label them, further isolate them, and lead to a diminished sense of belonging and squash any self-efficacy. I think the district is over-optimistic that everything's just going to work out. It's a huge gamble. West faculty members want to be there. They stick around. Some are even former West graduates. They are a constant for students who have come to expect inconsistency in their life. You will lose teachers. They have a place there and a purpose at West, and they are heartbroken. The district will have you believe that they will find places for displaced staff, but they won't tell you is that there's no parallel positions. And ultimately, staff will be forced to take whatever roles to keep employed. Why would a serious teacher ever want to work or seek employment in a district that seems to constantly take actions to decrease morale? A wise former superintendent once told me, "You're either going to pay for them now or in the future." A veiled reference to the fact that education's a way out. And sometimes we do things that are counter to what makes sense on a ledger. This community just gave you a levy. This is a black eye. At minimum, table this proposal. Let the newly elected Zone 1 and 2 come in with the current thinking of their community so that they have to live with the consequences. Preferably vote this down. Frankly, I'm embarrassed, ashamed, and angry that this
Aaron Callis. Thank you, Mr. Callis, and I really do appreciate you guys raising your hands during the comments. I know it can be hard, and you guys are catching yourselves, so I appreciate it. I'm going to move now to Lupe Meza. Perfect.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lupe Meza, and I'm from Central. My kids, I have 15 of them. My last two, I have an ADH, and he's really hard. I'm just afraid that if he goes to another school, he's going to have troubles. That's one of my concerns. I know he's been at Central for the last 2 years, and the teachers there have been so awesome with him, all of them. Anybody, they know that they can, they're not, how do I put it? They're not friends, they're more family. You know, they know they can call me, they know that other kids, I'm just kind of afraid. We live by the shelter home, and I'm kind of afraid that those kids are going to get lost. And right now, they know they can go straight down. Central's there. The teachers are out. The school buses. Everybody's there waiting for them. And it's really, really friendly. And taking these kids to other schools, and again, with disability or anybody, and if anybody has disability, they know when they transfer them to another schools or places, they're going to push harder. And I'm afraid these kids are going to get lost. I mean, he loves his Central. Oh, he wants to say something. I'm sorry.
I want it for teachers, and I want it for students to stay at Central.
So, again, choosing the borders, choosing whatever, leave Central where they're at. Their teachers, everybody's just awesome there. I don't want nobody to get lost, you know. I don't know, it's just really heartbroken that it has to come to this, but think of the children. Think of they are our future. Okay, thank you guys.
I'm just going to hand it to them so they all hold it so you guys can hear it.
Oh, perfect. Next, I'm going to call Tony Johnson.
I'm Tony Johnson, and I guess I'm in Zone 4. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Nampa School District Board and Administration. I'm Tony Johnson, and I'm the Programs Director and COO of Care House Partnerships, a compassionate ministry here in Nampa that weekly serves hundreds of families connected to the Nampa School District. Let me begin by thanking you for taking on this difficult decision related to how best steward the finances and facilities granted to you by the citizens of our community. Addressing this issue with all the emotions it evokes adds to the difficulty of making such a decision, so thank you for serving in a role that comes with little appreciation and thanks. Now, while I understand that there are significant financial and facility-based reasons for necessitating the closing of several schools, I must confess that I struggle with why a specific demographic appears to be impacted more by these decisions than the rest of our student population. Yes, as a husband of a teacher at Centennial Elementary, I do agree that something must be done with Centennial, as the safety issues created by its open classroom design inhibits the ability to keep our teachers and students safe in a violent intruder situation. Yet why are we taking away schools that are literally at the center of our community? Why are 3 of the elementary schools being considered for closure, all schools with the highest poverty rates of our district? While the Gateway School facility may be quite old, why are we repurposing Snake River Elementary School to host a school of 80 students when Snake River is the only school north of the train tracks, when it is in close proximity of the Boys and Girls Club, which itself provides after-school and summer programming to a high percentage of those students? Why is this neighborhood losing an essential resource instead of gaining more? This decision doesn't make sense to me when gateways could just as easily be reassigned to a newer building in a neighborhood which would not feel the effects of losing their neighborhood school with the resources it provides like North Nampa would. By pulling schools out of these neighborhoods, we are making it more difficult for these neighbors to access the key resources of life and community building. When we say parental involvement is a critical element to strong schools and to student achievement, we're telling workforce families and those living in poverty that they must spend more of their limited income and potentially take more time away from work to drive across town to support and participate in their children's school. We at Care House Partnerships and Nampa First Church of the Nazarene have heard all kinds of stories about how our partnership with Central has improved the sense of community amongst the parents and students, and that will be lost because of this decision. Also, North Central area of Nampa is already considered a food and grocery desert. And though I've heard the Family and Community Resource Center from the neighborhood that their children attend will quickly cause those centers to be forgotten and create a resource desert for those families.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Okay, next I'm going to call Sean Roberts.
My name is Sean Roberts, and I am a retired teacher. I taught at West Middle School for 35 years. Obviously, this whole thing is very emotional to me personally. Because of that, I still coach football and wrestling there. But after the emotional part of my family went to school there, my kids went to school there. My kids' names are on the wall there. My name is at the school on a field. I mean, there's a lot of emotion that went through first. And then I started thinking about my teaching. And then I went to the kids. And that's what my concern was. We've been talking about a community school, and I've taught West kids. I've always called them West kids because they were special kids. They were those kids in town that we've been talking about right now that we've had to take care of. And I had 100 chances to leave West and could have, and I never did because I felt I was part of that community too, and that's why I took my kids there too. And I feel, I understand the logistics of everything that happens in the district. Obviously, I've been part of the district for a long time, and I understand all that. But we go back to the kids and we think about when those kids leave West and have to go to another school, the opportunities they're going to have are they going to be taken away? And I'm not talking about classroom size, because I understand we hire math teachers to cover more classes. We hire language arts teachers. I'm talking about the kids involved that we involve in robotics or the gateway to technology and art. And those classes are they going to hire more teachers to fill those so those kids can be a part of that too? And we don't eliminate those kids from those programs. All through the sports aspect of our kids going to be limited going to other schools and being, not on teams now, or hopefully in middle school we don't cut teams, but hopefully they have more opportunity. That's what I'm concerned about. These kids, the West kids, obviously we're talking about Central kids, the same kids are going to have the same opportunities they've had in the past when the building was open. That is my concern. And I leave you with West Pride.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Now, this next one is a Cynthia and Greg Gorina. Are you guys wanting to speak at the same time or separately? I'll speak. Okay, come on up.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Cynthia Garina. We are in Zone 2. We have 2 children currently attending Central Elementary. We have a 2nd grader and a kindergartner. My husband and I moved here several years ago because we wanted to give our kids a better life than where we were at. And we almost didn't come tonight because I didn't know that saying anything would actually make a difference. But I felt that I needed to advocate not only for my kids, but for the teachers at the school. There are so many resources at Central Elementary that have made a huge difference in our lives. We get to see the teachers and we get to see other students at community events. We get to see them at church. We get to interact with them on more than just, oh, that's my child's teacher. Couple years ago, my husband was injured in a work injury, and he almost lost his life. And even though we're a 2-income household, it's still hard. And my daughter had some shoes that were kind of wearing down, and we kept saying, we're gonna make it to payday so we can get her a new pair of shoes. And she came home and she had a new pair of shoes from the resource center at Central. And at no point did they ever make us feel bad about needing to just make it to payday. My daughter and my son both had the same kindergarten teacher. My son's currently in kindergarten. And every time I go to that school, we feel connected to the community. We feel that we're a family and that we have a home here. And I'm afraid that if you take that away from my kids, that my kids aren't gonna thrive the way that they are. My kids love being there. They love their teachers, they love their friends, and the community support that we all receive is incredibly important to all of us. And I know that it's difficult, and I know that there's a lot that goes into it, but at Central Elementary, it's so much more than what it looks like. It is so much more than the enrollment numbers. They are making a difference to our children and to the future of this community. Sorry, I'm trying not to. I just can't imagine not having my kids attend that school with the amazing teachers, a lot of which are here, who care about my kids and who care about how they're learning and how they're growing and who they're gonna grow up to be. Thank you.
Can we get tissue for the podium? Is that a possibility? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Garina. If I can have, I might mess this one up. Mary Jason or Mary Layson? No? Mary Sasson? No? Okay, just a Mary. Do I have anybody in the audience that I'll name Mary? No? Okay. So how about Chris Logan? Do I have a Chris Logan? I'll come back. I'll call him again at the end. Laura Fuentes? Okay.
Hello, my name is Laura Fuentes. This is my daughter, Raquel Fuentes. I am a teacher here for 26 years. I teach at West. I am a parent of a student here at West. Please stop. And I count myself as a Nampa native because my great-grandpa landed here over 100 years ago. My dad grew up a mile down the road from West. I'm not here by mistake. West Middle School creates greatness. West is greatness, and we have tradition. Our field is named Sean Roberts Field for a reason. He's part of the rock that we are. And my dad attended the very first West that was down there where the Civic Center is. I'm not here by mistake. He who was a war veteran and took me to Spain as a baby. I learned Spanish, and now I'm an ESL teacher for 21 years at the school in his neighborhood where he played in that field. I'm not here by mistake. I've been driving from Boise for 20 of those years. You say bias in your meetings. I say buy in. These people are invested, and this doesn't come from nothing. The synergy of our staff didn't come from nothing, and I'm not going to ever find it anywhere else. I could go to Boise for $10,000 more a year almost, but I've never done it because I'll never find West. The blessings that are my life come in the form of people. And if I'm really lucky, in the form of a place. The best people in my life, the best blessings that God has given me have come as people in West. And that place is beautiful. We had a music teacher there who was in the Boise Philharmonic, and he lived in Idaho City, and he came down to be our music director for a while. And he went to West, and that's why. West is powerful. You don't know what you're doing with numbers. You're killing tradition and history, and it shouldn't be happening. And I didn't hear any other options. I didn't hear, let's close East Valley that has 3 separate wings that would be great to separate out into other programs. And it's practically CUNA. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear let's get south instead because they're right there down the road from Union and they could just move right over. So I want to know some other options. I don't know why we're the first one to go, but I don't think we should be. And I think you need to think about this a lot harder. And I'm willing to wait if it saves West. My daughter has been looking forward to going there. And I'll tell you as a parent, I almost quit last year because of open enrollment issues. Ridiculously not following what the district's supposed to follow, open enrollment issues. And as a parent, and I went for help and I didn't get it. So I'm telling you now, what you say doesn't always happen. And I want you to do the right thing.
I want to be at West one day.
She does. She does.
Okay, Linda Kelso.
I'm sorry, I don't have a paper. I did all my notes just today, right here during the meeting. So I have to agree with a lot of these people, the schools. Oh. Yeah, Linda Kelso, 9647 Rim Road in Nampa.
We'll restart your clock. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, board. I'm new to the area, and so I'm fresh to this discussion that's been going on since 2017 on the closures of different schools. And I've been here, I know there's been 2 issues on the ballots, for funding the levies, like the one that just passed, one that failed. And since 2017, I feel like I've been cheated with not all the information that was given about the levy. Yes, you're going to be doing all these great things for schools, but you left out an important component of we're going to be closing these schools too. I just feel like there's a disconnect with that piece. And then in regards to the schools, I guess you're going to have to redo all of your boundaries, your school boundaries, correct? And has that been discussed yet? How can you make a decision on something if you haven't looked in the future and said, oh, we're going to have to adjust our school boundaries, realign them? Are the trustees going to be changing boundaries too because of this discussion of closing all these different schools? And then I have to agree with the people who spoke from Central. Some students really need a smaller classroom to learn. I have a grandson who is that way. He needs a one-on-one. And if he goes to a bigger classroom, it's going to be very disruptive for the classroom and for him. He just needs, that's something he's learning to deal with. 22 to 26 students sound good, but when you're dealing with children who have ADHD and other disabilities, it doesn't work. You need a school, at least one school that has smaller classrooms for more direct learning. And that's all I have on my notes. So thank you, and know that I am against the closing of the schools.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm now going to call Liam MacArthur.
Good evening. My name is Pauline Wallace MacArthur, and I am from Zone 2. I am a 7th grader at West Middle School, and I am an alumni of Centennial Elementary. I have been a student with Nampa School District my entire life. I am here to tell you wonderful things about West Middle School. First, I want to tell you about our administration. Principal Whitmore greets and welcomes every student in our mornings and as we enter. He is fair, honest, and a caring leader. He has taken every issue that I have had, big or small, and with care and swift action, and he leads and listens. Most teachers, my teachers, are supportive and encouraging. I believe that most are also my friends and advocates. This last year, I was awarded Young Citizen Award by Nampa Exchange Club, and I was nominated by Mr. Whitmore and the teachers for representing excellent citizenship and attitude, academics, character, and leadership and sportsmanship. I am honored to represent West Middle School and stand with Mr. Whitmore and Mayor Kling. I belong to I belong in an academy within West. Fusion is a West project-based learning academy for students that want to learn through hands-on, focus-driven learning experience to master grade level standards. We are a STEM-based program. Fusion scaffolds learning to meet students where they are, help with them grow using small group instructions and collaborative learning. Their number one goal is to build resilient, independent learners. Fusion students are also offered electives with the rest of their grade level and access to advanced courses for core content. This program should be leading standard for learning within their entire district. I believe this innovative program with the wave of the future and something the district should be modeling, not closing. I am currently in student leadership at West. We are monitored by teachers and have direct say in planning and executing school assemblies and activities. We also lead the culture and academic standards for our school. Many of my fellow students have excelled at school because they have an opportunity to make a team A, B, or C team. We have the chance to belong, reach higher accountability in grades, and probably prepare for high school. All of these opportunities that we have been blessed with to experience will be taken away. Are you okay with that? I have been here before. While I was in elementary school, I stood with my sister advocating and holding signs said, "Let us play, cheer, and dance." I have been here before, standing shoulder to shoulder with some of you, holding signs that said, "Vote no on masks." Then me and 99% of the people at the meeting were completely mischaracterized and villainized in the media. But we kept advocating. I stood here with my family and friends and held signs on 12th and Greenhurst campaigning for new school board members. Some of you that are here today were those members. I am still proud of that. Now here I am again, advocating for the wildest thing, keeping my school open. We have done everything right. We have great culture at our school. We have great teachers and great administrators. We have great winning programs, and now we're getting canceled. We're getting shut down. When you make this decision, I want you to think of me, Paul Lee and Wallace MacArthur. I'm one of many Hispanic kids raised in the Nampa School District, asking you to keep my school open. This decision can't just be made about numbers. You have to consider the impact that this will have on me and so many kids like me at my school. Please do not take these opportunities away. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Liam. I'm now going to call Doris Atherton.
That's a tough act to follow. I'm Doris Atherton. I'm Zone 2. I am a member of this community. I'm a member of this school district as a mother and as a teacher. My son attended Centennial Elementary School, West Middle School, and now here at Nampa High. I teach at Centennial Elementary School. I don't envy any of you in this position right now. I really do not. None of these decisions are easy. I know you guys are trying to do what's best, but I would also mirror all of the sentiments expressed by every single person who's come up here today. These schools are very much an integral part of our community. But I know that you guys have to think with your wallets and not your hearts necessarily, and so we are also providing, I wanted to provide some alternatives. No matter what happens in this next month, nobody wins. These decisions are ones that need to happen, so thank you for your time and effort to address these difficult issues. If we close a school or two, it is my understanding that school boundaries will be redrawn for the entire district. Have we discussed simply redrawing the boundaries ahead of time because our community does not look anything like it does when boundaries were last redrawn, excluding when North Nampa went to the Valley View School District? If we change the high school schedule, will that be enough of a cost savings? How much does it save? Has the discussion of a 4-day student contact day been financially analyzed? If our community doesn't want to shut down buildings, would they be more likely to consider a 4-day week instead? How many online kids would come back to buildings if this was the case? And how much would that potentially impact teacher retention, another issue we continue to face in Nampa? I understand that this is a decision not taken lightly by any stakeholders. I also believe that completely closing a school or two is not something that should be done hastily, and it feels like that's what's happening. Yes, the challenge in funding from enrollment back to average daily attendance is going to create financial hardship in our district. With that said, we can't use some money from the rainy day. Why can't we use some money from the rainy day fund to cover losses, redraw boundaries, change the high school schedule, and then look at other cost mitigation strategies over the next year if we need to? These proposed changes are a lot to tackle in 1 year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Atherton. I'm now going to call Rochelle Chavez. Pass. Okay. Now, Aaron Field.
Hi, my name is Erin Field. 616 South Diamond Street is my address. I didn't know that sign-up sheet was to talk, but I would like to represent Centennial. My first grader is there, and I love my school. Just raise of hand how many of us are from Centennial. And I think that I could go on for hours and tell you all of the wonderful reasons why all the people at our school are the best and why our school is the best. But I think the problem is the proximity of the school. The proximity of the schools to the children's homes, and what they lose if the school is not a resource that is close enough to walk to. That's a problem. Do you want to talk so that you know when it's working? Would you like me to keep talking? Test.
Here, can we turn me on and she can have me? No? What? Greg's. Greg's.
Is this really loud now?
That's better.
Okay.
Can we put her back to 215, please? You know what? Just start it over. Yep, just start her over. Thank you.
I won't need a whole 3 minutes.
It's okay.
I didn't write it. I think the problem is the proximity of the schools to the children's homes. If their school is not close enough to walk to, then that poses a problem, a lot like Tony already said, that there's resources not only at their school for them to get to, but like Nampa First Church that is right next to Central. I actually also attend that church, and we do provide a shoebox of gifts for every single child at that school every Christmas. And that's a resource that won't be available because that church won't be next to the kids at that school any longer. And I'm sure we're not the only church that provides resources to the school that is near us or near their church. Another thing, should I use both? One of them goes out. Can you still hear me?
Yes. You wanted to tell us something else. You said another thing I want to tell you after proximity.
Is that, sorry. So my daughter is in first grade. Last year she was in kindergarten, and I didn't know anything about our school district, and I asked everyone that I could possibly think of to ask what school we should go to, and top 2 recommendations, Centennial was one of them. It's a great school. Also, I think a huge loss to our community would be our principal, Dr. Zikavus. He is the kind of man that not only picks up dog poop, but also like on the campus, but also he creates events just so that the students' parents can get to know each other. It's not a school event, it's an event for parents to get to know each other because he cares about the community around the school. And I assume if our kids are going to a different school, they won't need 2 principals at that school. And I don't think that he's someone that you want to be losing in the school district. I love Centennial. That's all.
Thank you, Erin.
Chair Taylor, is there a short somewhere, or we've figured out what the sound is, or? Okay. I just want to make sure the recording is picking up that too. Okay, very good. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to move now to Shyla Bitsuri. No? Okay, I'm going to check this one off too, and then that way, if at the end I have butchered that,
I can bring that person in. Give me just one more second. All right, Jesse Rhodes.
I'm Jesse Rhodes, and I am a teacher at West Middle School, Social Studies, and one of that guy's teachers. But I wanted to come here and say tonight, I am strongly encouraging the board to not close West Middle School or repurpose it. And I have some questions as well. I teach my students in the classroom that one of the most important things we can do is ask good, hard questions. And it's in asking good questions and looking at details that we can arrive at understanding and good decisions. In watching the district proposals and listening as much as possible to the district leadership in meetings with our staff at West, I've come to the conclusion that we have not asked all of the right questions, and we definitely have not explored alternative scenarios. So to start, I tried to ask some simple logical questions, and one is about optimal efficiency, which is a new phrase to me since I've just been in the classroom, but it's a phrase I've heard for the first time a couple months ago, and the question I had was, what is the average size of a middle school? And so I researched the average size of a middle school, and the average size of a middle school is 527 nationwide, and it's about the same in Idaho. The enrollment at West is 520. And so it makes me wonder why the district is trying to close a school that sits right at the average. Although full capacity of our school is 1,000, I could never imagine the overcrowding problems we would face if West was even at 800. And so we would be making plans for portables. We'd be trying to figure out lunch. We'd have all these issues. Another question I had is about class size and the way class sizes will be impacted. Monday night, the district argued that class sizes would stay in an optimal range. However, this is really the wrong question to me. We should constantly be asking the question, what is the optimal class size? And the research not only suggests, but proves, and the leading experts on this say that the best class size for learning in a middle school is 1 to 18. One teacher for 18 students. Experts at conferences have all seconded this. So we shouldn't be trying to get class size to 26, as is proposed by the district here. We really should be shooting to lower class sizes as much as possible. Next question is about athletics, which has been talked about, but really after listening to the district, I'm not sure what the savings are necessarily going to, but what I wanted to say is that education needs to be considered here.
Thank you, Mr. Rhodes. I now have Stacy Nichols.
This one. Okay. I'm Stacy. I do not live in the district, but I teach at West Middle School. I can agree with most of what has been said here tonight, but the thing that I want to stress is that one thing that I have been paying close attention to with all of the videos that have been put out and things from the district is it seems like the school chosen to be repurposed or closed all have some things in common. We are all Title I schools, and we all have demographics that come from very traumatic backgrounds. Now, I don't know why these schools are being targeted,
But I think that that needs to be a serious consideration of the board. Our schools provide very essential services to these students. All of these elementary schools feed into West Middle School. So it makes me wonder what the reasoning is, why these schools are being chosen and targeted to be closed or repurposed. I think that the board should do something very important and table this issue. Yes, you have responsibility to be financial responsible for the district, but you also have responsibilities to the students at every school in this district.
All right, that is our last speaker this evening. So that is going to conclude the public comment portion of our meeting. So board, we have set now for discussion. That is optional for us. If there are any questions, any discussion that we want to have, or any direction that we want to give to Dr. Russell and his team based on feedback that we heard tonight. So I will go ahead and open it up for discussion. If anybody has any comments or questions or things that they want directed towards administration.
I can start. First, I want to apologize because I wasn't at the last meetings. Had some family issues that we're still trying to deal with, and I've been traveling a lot. But I want to, with the things that have been said, somebody said that they didn't think what they said would make a difference. To me, it makes a whole lot of difference. And it reminds me when I was director of operations for a company called Unicity International in Boca Raton. We're so focused on saving money and at the expense of employees. We wanted to make sure we had the fastest line to be able to ship our products as quick as possible. And it, we automated, we spent money to do that. At the end of the day, a lot of customers complained because they didn't get the personal touch. And we discovered that sometimes what saves you money in one end, it creates other problems in another end. And I think I'm hearing what people are saying. I truly believe that maybe we are rushing a little too fast in this. There are some things that were said. The strong connections, the safe haven, the symbol of unity, the creation of greatness. I understand what trauma is. And I understand the health needs of students now more than ever. I have a son who's autistic, and he suffered a lot of trauma in schools. So I get that part. I get the importance of having consistency. And I really appreciate the fact that you all came out here. By the way, is there anybody here that opposes what has been said today? Okay, so everybody is basically on board on the same thing, right? Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I'm very concerned of the appearance. I know what we're trying to do, but I truly believe that it hasn't been fully thought of. And I don't want to say that with disrespect. I want to say it because I remember sitting with all my managers and trying to think of specific ways, and we're so focused on one thing that we truly lost the sight of different things. There's something to be said about emotion, and I don't want to dismiss it at all, because emotion is community. Emotion builds unity. And when there's strong emotions, one-way emotions, it needs to be heard, especially when it comes to the kids in our community that are the ones that need to be heard more than. So I get it, and I apologize. I haven't been truly following as much of this as I should have, and done my work like I should have. But at the end of the day, I believe there are other options that we need to consider. And I will definitely put my foot behind tabling this and looking at different possibilities that haven't been thought of, or maybe we don't want to think about because it means tackling other things that, but sometimes sometimes we got to do hard things that is beyond what we are what we have in our scope. Right now, I think the scope, the target's aiming one way. It needs to be broader, and the full picture needs to be seen. Not that, and again, I'm not dismissing what the district's trying to do, but I truly believe that their eyes need to be looking at things in a different perspective. So that's my comment right now, and I may have some more later.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Valle. Trustees, do we have any other comments or requests?
I have a request. Just knowing, I know a lot of it, we don't have a concrete number necessarily on cost savings, but I would like to hear those numbers by the 18th to be able to make a good decision, as well as some of those, because there are other options presented for mitigations in this. And some of you this evening brought those up as well. But looking at those cost savings as well is important to me to be able to make a decision. And then maybe if I could get a reminder this evening or not, but the bond ask that failed, how many of these schools that are being looked at would have had attention put to them had our bond passed?
Trustee Kirkman, Trustee Sue?
Oh, I'm going to take the rest of the night.
Right.
I jotted down a couple of questions I would like addressed. And one of the things, and I appreciate there was a comment about, are we really listening? I guarantee you, when you come to this mic, we are absolutely listening. And I heard some things that I hadn't considered before, and I appreciate that. And my role in another part of my life, I deal with the city of Nampa and the growth in the city of Nampa and where things are being built and neighborhoods and things like that. And one thing that we've discussed in a number of those meetings is the food desert in North Nampa. And so that's something I did not consider if Central were to close and Snake River would be repurposed. So my question to the district staff and to Dr. Russell is, what's the alternative to keeping Central open? Is there another alternative to that specific line item, if you will? Is keeping Central there? Because hearing from the public, hearing what's been brought tonight, that serves more than just the students that are attending that school. And if that school were to close, and given that area of Nampa, that would become a school desert. And that's concerning for me. I mean, when we're concerned about food desert in that area, and now we're going to have a school desert, I want to know what options might be available, again, with that line item. If there, and I know there are, and I know the staff will do a good job of looking at all the options on that. So that's the one thing that I appreciate hearing the information that was brought forward. The other thing that I had thought about a little bit, I hadn't really considered though, was, you know, I'm trying to say this as delicately as possible, is the schools that are being considered, are they all, and just confirmation from staff, are those all Title I schools? Okay, so confirmation from staff, are those, I'm just kidding.
That was loaded. We got a lot of staff.
I guess they're all, yeah, there is
Yeah.
a lot of staff out there. And so that is concerning to me also, aside from the perception of what that is, which, you know, that's a concern. I mean, where do those students in those Title I schools that are facing different challenges and different issues than schools outside of those areas? And that is a concern. I don't want you to think that we're not, that at least myself personally, I am not, I am thinking about that. And I appreciate, again, the information that was brought up. So that was something else I wanted to throw out to staff is the consideration of closing what seems like targeted Title I schools. I know they're not targeted because the staff have come from a very logical perspective about the cost and the savings and all that other kind of stuff. So I know they're not targeted, but there is that perception, it looks like. So I do want a little bit more information on that. I totally understand the timeline, and while it may feel like this is being rushed, it's hard for me to agree to that because this conversation has been going on since, I think, 2017. It is incumbent on people in this community to be a part of the conversation, whether it starts in 2017 or whether it starts a year ago. And if people come and say, well, we didn't know anything about this and we feel like it's being rushed and thrown down our throats, I would ask, why haven't everyone been a part of the conversation for years and years and years? So, so while I appreciate the comment and where it's come from, and I totally understand that, because it can feel like that. All of a sudden, boom, here we are. But no, the conversations, and they've been all public meetings, and there's been always the opportunity for people to participate. So that being said on that, the optional efficiency, when the gentleman was talking, the teacher was talking from West Middle School about the optimal efficiency. I was going to get there. I was going to get there sooner or later. The size of the middle schools, the average size. When you start throwing, and I'm not saying that they're not correct, but when you start citing research and numbers, I'm the kind of guy that like, give me the citations, because I would love to go look those up. Again, I'm not saying they're not correct. I want to see what those are. So if there was a way that you could email the board the citations to the research that you brought up, that would be great, because I would love to see those. I'd love to go and look at those. Specific demographics, higher poverty rates, okay. The other, just a comment again on the school desert. I'm concerned. This school district, obviously this is no surprise to anybody, is a huge part of this community of Nampa, and it involves really every aspect of this community. And so pulling schools out of certain areas, whether it's West or whether it's Lake Ridge or whether it might be whatever school, my concern is what kind of a vacuum does that create in that particular area? I know from my other role with the city, I can see where the growth is happening. I can see the neighborhoods that are being approved. I can see the zonings that are being, and annexation and all that kind of stuff. So I can see where the growth is. And I can see the limitations to the city of Nampa as far as the city limits and where we will be growing and so on and so forth. And so my concern is that as we are considering closing different schools around the city, what kind of a vacuum is that creating for that particular spot? Again, that kind of goes hand in hand with the school desert, that type of a thing. But I think it's incumbent upon the school district to take into consideration the city of Nampa also, as far as what our decisions might have to the city, if that makes any sense. It makes sense up here. I hope I'm saying it. So that's all I had written down, but I might have something after Trustee Sue has.
I don't think my microphone's working.
Oh, absolutely. It'll cost you, though. There is a...
I don't know. Will it extend?
I'll just talk for you. Yeah, go ahead and use, yeah, there you go.
This issue is near and dear to my heart. My first elementary school is no longer there. My second elementary school, after I moved in first grade, is no longer there. It was been repurposed for something else, and I remember having this fight in high school when they wanted to close my high school. So I'm just bad luck. I apologize for that. This is a hard decision, and nobody wants to make it. Nobody wants to. I think in a perfect world, we can kick the can down the road another year and hope that the legislature gets their act together and provides funding for education like our students deserve. And I would encourage you to use your energy and the power that you have and the voice that you have to make sure your legislators know that you demand better for our children, for their education, for funding. So that's one point. I'm going to be honest, and this is not a personal attack. I've never considered the targeting, I think was what was said, of the schools. I know Waylon. Our boys have played football together. I know him in a personal capacity before any of this, and I never once considered any ulterior motive other than strictly numbers. The teacher who said trauma-informed schooling, I don't remember your name, but you're nodding, so. My wife is a social worker, and we disagree on a lot of things politically, but we do agree on making sure that children get the best education. So I didn't know about the trauma-informed schooling, so I appreciate that. And I'll be very frank, I had to look up on the map where Central was, and it really did shock me. Man, that is right in the center of town. So your voices matter. Young man in the front row, your voice matters, so thank you for what you said. One last comment. It is not our wallets. It is not our money. It's your money. It's taxpayer money. So we hear it a lot. We hear criticisms a lot about how wasteful the school district is and all these other things, and we're trying to make the best decision. So whatever happens, I ask for grace and mercy on a lot of this stuff too. It's not something that, not something I sign up for, but I know we have to do it, so thank you.
Yeah, so my turn. You guys are, so I went to Central. Dr. Harmon practically raised my sister. Everybody knows I love Nampa High. It always makes a difference when you guys talk because, I mean, I feel like I'm one of you. And Liam, your speech was so impactful because you fought right there by my side, buddy. So I appreciate you. So it's not lost on me what you guys say. ever. And it's never lost on me when you show up. So thank you. I think that where I want to go from here is the main things that I think I need to know, or that I'm going to direct for our administration. There was a lot of programs that were listed off. I'm going to try not to butcher them, but there was a Resilience, an Open 5, the St. Luke's Bus, the YMCA program, the Salvation Army, the First Church, the tutoring, and then trauma-informed schools. So my first question is going to be, for school closures, what programs are at the suggested schools and how will they be rehomed? So I'm going to need that list. And then the trauma-informed school. Tonight, that is the first time I've heard this specific term. So I'm also going to direct our administration that I need a little bit more information on that. But I'm going to say, guys, it's man, if I could say anything, it's not a district versus you. These are hard choices, and there's never enough money for anything that we want to do, ever, ever. And if I'm being more honest, the budgets are just ridiculous. Everybody knows that I live in the private sector. You know, everybody knows, or not everybody knows, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Those of you that know me know. For those of you that don't, I'm a business owner now. I've needed a food pantry before, so I get the importance of those too. But I hope that you don't leave tonight thinking that it's a district versus staff, because there's not a day that goes by that in the conversations that I have that we're not talking about the district as a whole. And I talk to Dr. Russell almost every day, because these decisions are important and they weigh on all of us. So if I can leave you with anything tonight, I want to leave you with, this is a really hard job. And when we take it, it's not that we don't become one of you, or we're not still one of you. I'm still one of you. I live here. I plan to live here for a very long time, God willing. I plan to live to be very old too, God willing. But please don't see it that way. There will be decisions that we will have to make, if not this one, others, because we have a funding issue. We have a funding issue because we have decreased enrollment. And you've got to stay involved in the conversation after tonight, and you need to stay involved in the conversation so that we have valuable feedback when we have to make these hard choices. But I don't ever want you guys to think that when you say something, it doesn't matter. It really does matter to all of us when you show up here. And when you give us information, we diligently look into that as a board. And there's not one person sitting up here that hasn't taken that seriously since they've taken their oath in this job. And I appreciate you guys, I do. And this will always have been one of the most life-changing experiences in my life, and so I'm grateful for it. And I really feel like I am Nampa. We are Nampa. So anyway, for what it's worth, sometimes we want to have really great words. Tonight, it's just sadness, really it is. No matter what decision we make, no matter what we have to do, we're going to lose something. We're going to create some type of a change that affects a child. And my children go to school with your children. We've grown up with you. And my grandpa graduated from Nampa High. So these are hard decisions, and that weight's not lost here. Yeah.
I know that this conversation has come up with the negotiations team about the 4-day work week. It is not an item on the mitigation options, but we did hear it a couple times, I think twice tonight, at least twice, maybe more. And I know, just like everything, that this is part of why we have this discussion, and we want to hear, because it does impact more than everything you can plan for. And so I know the 4-day work week would impact, and I'm going to be honest, it impacts our families the most. It impacts our classified staff the most. But I think it's important to ask the question, right? And before you do that, we need to ask parents and staff what is the feeling on that. And what would that be? We hate pitting things against each other. Like if we did this, we wouldn't have to do this, or if we can do this, then we don't need to do this, because we don't have a glass ball that's going to tell us everything. If we did, we would have known, several years ago that all the new growth was not going to generate more kids in our school. If we did, we would have known, instead of building middle schools that hold a capacity of 1,000 kids, maybe we should have just built middle schools that hold like 650, because 85% of that would be 520 or a little more. Right? We don't have those things. In this position, I've learned, though, when we get more information, that's the best part, is because then we can make a better informed decision. And so I would like to know more of that 4-day work week, possible savings. I don't think it needs to go to a survey before December 18th. I'm not saying that. I'm not asking that. I'm just saying, like, can we look at what other districts that have gone to that, what it looks like, what possible savings? And I hope we do it kind of in a smarter way. I know most that have gone to that, Friday's the day they don't have kids come in, but I also know at our secondary level, that's where most of our athletic events are happening on that day. So it seems silly to close a building to just turn it back on and heat it up so that kids can come in and perform and play and do those things. So I would hope you'd do it on a Monday, because that's when most of our holidays are as well. So we already get some of those off. Just my 2 cents on that piece. Yeah, it's hard. And I'm sorry, those of you that know me, I'm like brass tacks, let's get down to it. And I do get emotional, and I try to stay away from it, because I think I'm a lousy crier and an ugly, emotional person. But I just want to reiterate, and I hope you all know, that there is not one person sitting on this stage that takes any of this lightly and who is not listening to what you have to say. And what you have to say, I will tell you, it does make a difference. You may not see the repercussions of it tomorrow, but it does make a difference, because all 5 of us, I know these people well enough that we are taking it to heart, and we are reflective, and we are taking all options. And more importantly, I know this district. I love that, Chair Taylor, you said this is not a district versus anybody issue. We are an entire district. We are an entire community. And regardless of what decisions made, I hope our community and this district know that each and every one of us are what makes this district what it is for kids and for our neighbors, and for those community members that are around our schools that help us. Like, we're all in this regardless. Thank you guys so much for taking the time and being brave enough to share.
Chair Taylor, I need to, just a sec. So, Chair Taylor, I just wanted to comment quickly after Trustees. I just want to make very clear, I was not suggesting that the district staff was targeting schools for particular reasons. It's not that at all. I wanted to make very crystal clear they were coming at this from a very logical, strategic point of view, and looking at all the options. And we'll be looking at other options, I hope. But nonetheless, I just want to make sure that the targeting was probably the wrong word to use. It's just that sometimes that's the perception that people will see when they start looking at those schools that will be affected that are in this proposed plan. So, and then personally, I know there's a lot of parents out there with that have some anxiety about their kids possibly having to go to a new school. I went through that too. I had a son that was at Sunny Ridge, and when Sunny Ridge closed, we had to move him to a different school. So I get that from a personal level, what type of anxiety that is and what it feels like. And then, Chair Taylor had mentioned that she's in the private sector, and one of the unfortunate things that we have in the government public sector is the inability to
Make
raise the
money.
funds that we need.
Yep.
And so we are at the mercy of taxpayers, which includes state government, some federal money, but mostly here locally. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability, if Trustee Taylor's business needed some additional revenue, she can make those changes and create that additional revenue. We are shackled with that, and that's just the unfortunate unintended or unintended consequence, however you want to look at it, with the public sector and with government. So it is a tough choice. I appreciate everyone on this board and their thoughtfulness. I thought about this all day at work today. People were coming up to me asking me, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" And I said, "No, I'm just thinking about a lot of different things, and it weighs heavy on my mind and it weighs heavy on my heart too." So I appreciate you showing up. I appreciate the input that you provided, and look forward to some continuing conversation about this as quickly as we can need to move.
Okay, so now I have a little bit of housekeeping. 1 second and I'll let you speak, okay? I'm just gonna let her do it, so she's the winner. Okay. Here's the housekeeping. We're getting a lot of emails, and I know that there were a lot of questions asked tonight, which is very fair, but that's not what tonight was for. However, I believe that you all deserve those answers. So if you have questions tonight that you asked, what I would like for you to do is, this is Clerk Lamont. Chrissy, can I have you raise your hand? Go ahead and give her your email address. Dr. Russell and I will be working for the next 2 days just to answer all emails, make sure that we have everything needed on our FAQs, things on like the high school schedule changes, like the housekeeping questions. So we'll get all of those answered for you. We're getting a lot of emails because we get regular emails as well. So please just give us 48 hours to have those done. No later than Monday, we'll have those answered for you guys. That's Monday the 11th. And that's what I had for housekeeping. You're up. I can't hear you. Come on up.
Chair Taylor, as she's walking up here, just a reminder, if you do have questions, I would suggest that you check the FAQs on the website first. I was looking at them today. There's a lot of questions on there that that you might have and might already be answered. So I would encourage you to look there first and then send us your questions.
Does it work?
It's working.
Okay. My name is Pam Peterson. I graduated from Nampa High, but I also worked 25 years in the district as a school nurse. And I've worked with all of the schools except for the new ones that came after I retired. I am sad that there was no one here from Snake River to talk. I see that. One thing, you don't have parents with access, be it language, be it vehicle, whatever. And so it is a food desert also, but you have agreed to let the resources stay there. So I thank you as a board for that. But we have a food desert in all of North Nampa, that it does include Central. Central is closer to some of the food banks than the Snake River, because I've worked with the traveling table in that area. I think the people that have the least ability to get their kids to school are going to be moved to other schools. And as a community member, I see those faces of those kids. I cannot ignore that. And I know you have economics, but there is the human factor here that makes a world of difference for that life.
Okay. So Trustees, if we have no further discussion, we are ready to adjourn. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys.
Chair Taylor, can you let them know that you guys will be accepting emails regarding this topic?
Yeah.
And what date it is, if you guys are gonna accept it until the 15th
Yeah.
or up until said day or Monday?
Yeah, so we're going to accept, there's no deadline for emails, guys. You can email us immediately now. So it's just the board at nsd131.org, or if you go online, you can look us up individually. If you email the entire board, like just the board email, we all get those. So those emails are always accepted. So that doesn't change. There's not a deadline for emails or anything along those lines. So you can feel free to email us, or if others want to email us, they can as well.
I think just reminding folks, though, that I believe most of us will be working on the 18th as well, though, myself included, and so we may not have the time last minute.
Yeah, you
before
want to
our
get them in
regular
before the
board.
meeting.
Sorry.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this is, we are going to have this on our December 18th agenda. So you want to get those emails in before that particular meeting. So before the 18th is going to be best. Day of emails can be very difficult.
Chair
Okay?
Taylor, can I ask
I'm
a
going to get
question?
your question after. Okay?
Can I ask a question? Sure. I know there was a survey that was sent out, or a survey that was been, I'm not sure how it got sent out or if it was just on a website or what, but did you all get a chance to fill out that survey? No. Okay.
Nope, we got to cut it off at some point.
And-
She was our,
Yeah.
Yes.
I got another question. Yes, raise hands because you can't speak. Did anybody have any problems filling out that survey if you try filling out that survey? Okay. Because I know we got a couple of emails from people that have problems, and I believe that the survey results came in, and they're probably skewed. So
Trustee Valle, I want to be a little bit cautious before we say that, because the emails were sent only to people who had children. So there may be
In those
people
specific
yeah.
locations.
So it's fine.
Okay.
Hold on one second. So I want to be really cautious. If people have had issues with their survey, it is best if you email the board. We're not going to be able to mitigate that tonight. This isn't the area for that. But if you were supposed to get a survey and you did not, email the board. That really is what you need to do so that we are aware that you're not getting the surveys or that the surveys are not working. Okay.
Should that really come to us, though?
I mean, if
Well, they were forwarded to the district.
yeah, they're forwarded to the district staff. So if they want the board to know, like they're trying to tonight, then it can come to us. Yeah. So if you want us to know, email it to us. If you've not got the email, contact the district staff. But we're not going to mitigate that here. All right, guys. Anything else? Okay, we are adjourned.
Drive careful.